Right, good day and welcome everybody to the Health Accelerator Challenges. This is your host of the afternoon, Kate Archibald, and I am stoked to be joined by some fellow team members, some rad peeps. We got Jenny Iyer here, our health advisor extraordinaire. Jenny, how you doing today?
Doing great.
Awesome. And along with Jenny, we got the one and only Reagan Archibald. Reagan, how's it going?
It's going great. It's going really, really good.
Awesome. Well, we had a really cool Health Accelerator challenge last week where we went over the Fitness 50 tool, and hoping you guys all enjoyed that and were able to download that and dive in. How did everyone do? So the goal or the challenge was to create some benchmarks on each of those items. And so, yeah, I know there was some, there was deadlifts, wall sits, pull-ups, push-ups, planks, your jump tests, vertical and long, and then dead hang, 1.5 mile run and sit and reach. So curious, type into the chat box if you're listening live. Let us know how you did. If you're listening to the recording on the podcast, send us an email. Tell us how it went. I know some people were emailing Tristan as well with the last podcast to give him some insights into your challenges as well on the Fitness 50 or Fitness 25 at age 50. So awesome. Well, I'm excited to dive into our agenda for today, Reagan. Diving into some longevity and the hallmarks of aging.
Yep. So we're going to continue on our longevity pursuits because if we don't, then we leave our biology to chance. And so one of the things I'm going to talk about today when it comes to this really cool thing called aging, it's as I've kind of shared before, one of my favorite patients, he used to say, it's not, aging is not for sissies, but it beats the alternative. And so today we're going to be talking about these multiple clocks in different organ systems. But Jenny or Kate, have you guys ever wondered, or have you guys ever done any thinking or research on what develops first in the womb? What organ systems?
Oh,
I remember learning about this when I was pregnant, but I forgot already.
yeah,
Awesome.
I know I've gone over this. I can't remember if it's like the nervous system and the brain or what is it?
Yeah, it's actually what you see as the cells start to divide. It takes a couple of weeks for the organisms to start to take shape, but it's the heart. So you get the cardiac cells to start to beat, and then there's a neural tube that neural, as in neurons and brain. There's like a neural stem that comes out of the heart. And then at week 3 is when the liver forms. So it's like the heart and the brain and the liver. And then week 4, the kidneys come in. Week 5, the pancreas, the thyroid gland. Interestingly enough, if you guys all look at the back of your tongue, see that little dot on the back of my tongue?
Yes.
Okay, that is that's the thyroglossal notch, and that's where my thyroid used to be when I was maybe like a month old, and then the thyroid slid down into my throat. So by about 8 weeks, all the organs are formed, and we're like these little tiny humans, which is pretty miraculous. And so if you think about as our bodies, just as we develop, it's kind of fascinating because if you think about the very thing that takes out more humans early in life, it's heart attacks, heart disease. And so that's some things we want to reverse. And then what I'm going to share with you today too is the second thing that hits us is our brain. If you live beyond 80, it's no longer heart disease and diabetes is going to take you out, but it is Alzheimer's, dementia, it's those neurological things. So I'm going to share a study that I've been kind of whittling on, and this is from Cell Reports, but I've been using this with AI, and this is a really fascinating study where they look at the age of each organ, because one of the things that we're getting better and better at, and pretty soon I'll start, mentioning, the age of each system in your body. But I've been following Brian Johnson, and Brian Johnson, he's a Provo native. He started Venmo and sold Venmo for $800 million. So he spends about $2 million on his health every single year. He's got 30 doctors, and he's my age, but he looks at least 10 years younger, maybe 20 years younger, depending on how I slept the night before and how I combed my hair. But he's done some fascinating things in looking at all the biological clocks in his body. And so this is a study that, for those of you who love to jump into the research, this is a study that will give you some overviews as far as how our bodies age. And I'll give you kind of a high level, because it might be pretty boring to go through all of the details of it. But if you think about what organs develop the first, you think about, well, what age is the first? And the very first thing that happens in the organ systems that break down is actually our skin and our nails and our hair. So pretty interesting. Jenny, so if you think about that, any types of people, any one that that you can think of, and they're maybe in their 70s, 80s, but they have phenomenal skin, hair, nails?
Oh, yes. My parents are one of them. They should not look as good as they do. They look amazing. They have great hair. My dad is 63 and he's only now starting to gray. His hair is thick and brown, and I want to be like them when I grow up.
And that's amazing. Well, you will. You got their genetics, and every time I see you, you don't look a day over about 19.
Wow.
So yeah, I think you're doing well. That's exciting, because if you think about, well, why does the skin, the hair, the nails? Well, first of all, our skin is the largest organ in the body, and we don't talk about it very often because it doesn't seem very exciting. But actually, the skin is really important, as it helps with respiration and inspiration. It helps us detoxify. And Allison said, Jenny, you have gorgeous skin and hair. True story. Well done, Jenny.
Thank you, Allie.
And but if you think about it, our skin, our hair, everything's exposed to we have sun exposure, we have pollution, and pollution is a big one, because that can really break down the protection of the skin. So one of the things you can use for your skin is a great peptide called GHK copper. And one of the newest skin lines that we have in is called Vitali. And I love this. We can't keep it on the shelves, though. So I'm worried about when I run out that it's not going to be there. So I actually shouldn't even be talking about it, because you guys just keep buying us out. Have you used that, Jenny or Cade?
I have used the GHK copper. I did the creams and the injections and the foam. So I've used them all, actually, and I love them.
Nice.
Yeah.
All of my skincare stuff comes from Sierra, my wife. And so, but I do think she actually uses one of the Vitali lines. So it's in my bathroom somewhere, and I use it regularly. It's actually one thing Sierra is like on top of it with the skincare stuff. She is on it.
Man, that's great. Well, the difference in Vitali is it's got the hyaluronic acid, it's got GHK copper, and it's got a bunch of other great things in it, but it seems to be one of the purest forms we can get. We've been doing GHK copper prescriptions, and that's what you need because it's a higher dose if you're trying to do, if you really have wrinkles you want to get rid of. I would say use both of those. Use the Vitali as like a moisturizer, and it will help reduce some of the wrinkles, but you'll want to use GHK copper directly. Same with the hair, you can use the foam. And even if you've received like stem cell therapy or regenerative medicine, you can use GHK copper right into the joint, or you can apply it topically to the joint or injections, and you'll actually get more stem cell growth. There was research done out of Korea in 2017, and they found that GHK copper, because what it does is GHK carries copper right into the DNA, and GHK is a tripeptide, so it's just 3 peptide chains, so it fits the category of a bioregulator. For anything from 2 to 4 peptide chains are bioregulators, so that is technically a bioregulator, but it cleans out the DNA. And so it wipes the DNA clean. It's like swiping your computer where you have refresh software. And that's why it reduces wrinkles. It helps hair follicles come back to life. But it really helps support one of the hallmarks of aging, which is called stem cell exhaustion. So it reverses that. So that's system number 1 for the skin. And then for the hair, the GHK copper, you can do PRP. You can use the umbilical cord tissue allografts to activate stem cells in the face, doing a facelift with Amy. You can trigger the hair follicle growth with Amy as well. And she does a phenomenal job at that. So those are some things you can do for the nails. One of the things you can all do is look at your nails, and do you see ridges? Do you see grooves? Do you see white dots on your nails? If you see those, there's a good chance that you've got some nutrient deficiency. So you might have a zinc deficiency or an inositol deficiency, but those are 2 great things you can do for your nails. And your nails are very reflective of the inside workings of your gut, and they let you know if you're getting enough nutrients. The nails will show up if you have thyroid issues. Your nails will get brittle and they'll flake off, and you can get those hang nails, which really hurt. So that's the skin, hair, nails. That's system number 1. Number 2 is the musculoskeletal system. That means the joints, the bones, your cartilage, tendons, ligaments. Those seem to go the second fastest. And Jenny, you've worked with a lot of our patients over the years. And what would you say kind of the primary cause of this degeneration is that you've seen in working with our clients?
And muscle loss, well, not using your muscles, I would say it's the biggest one. You got to use them or you lose them.
Yep.
And also nutrient deficiency. I mean, muscles need nutrients and protein to grow and stay there. So if you're not getting the nutrients that you need, your body's going to use the muscles and the rest of your organs and tissues as fuel.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point, because those nutrient deficiencies, one of the big ones that doesn't get talked about a lot is glycine. So you know how we all love collagen peptides. And one of the reasons why collagen peptides makes people's joints feel so good is because when you're exposed to glyphosate, so if you're eating food that's been sprayed with Roundup, even organic food, the glyphosate, especially with all the floods in California, good luck finding anything without glyphosate in it from California. You just won't find it. But glyphosate, it's a molecule that binds on that same peptide structure that glycine is meant to be bound to. And because there's the glycine disruption, that's where you see people younger and younger needing knee replacements. I met with a patient today, and he's coming to get some regenerative medicine on his knees. And his wife said, "Man, I wish I would have known about you sooner," because she had her knees replaced at the age of 50. And this is way too young. So hang on to your knees. But one of the very first things, to Jenny's point, is get those nutrients. So, making sure you're taking collagen peptides that can flush some of it out. Apple cider vinegar, actually, Stephanie Seneff, she's an MIT researcher, PhD. She's written books on glyphosate, and she's phenomenal, but I'd recommend you pick that up. The other minerals that get dysregulated is molybdenum and copper and zinc. And so all those are really necessary for healthy muscles, bones, and joints. The other thing that we see is a decrease in bone density. And so in increasing bone density, there's a couple ways you can do it. Number one, you want to make sure that you have healthy adrenal glands, because the adrenal glands, if you look on your blood labs and you see that your anion gap is off, that means you're not getting the right movement of electrolytes, or if your potassium levels are high, sodium's low, or in the reverse, then you definitely want to fix that. So when we say the adrenal glands, a lot of people just kind of blow it off and say, oh, everybody's stressed, but actually it will disrupt the mineral circulation in your body, and it can lead to decreased bone density. And so the way to circumvent it, Cade, you love doing some of the activities that help increase bone mineral density. Can you think of those?
Probably lifting weights is a big one. Yeah, that's the number one thing I can think of on bone density. What else you got?
No, that's it. Get your nutrition fixed, and then lift weights. And by the way, fixing nutrition, it doesn't mean let's just go supplement. It means get your stool test ran, making sure that you don't have any issues like leaky gut, SIBO, anything going on in the colon or in the gut. Otherwise, you're going to make yourself at risk for musculoskeletal issues. And Jenny, I think, you kind of hit the nail on the head when it comes to the musculoskeletal system. If you don't use it, you lose it. And so if you think, when you got pregnant with Evan, and you had to stop running for a little while, you ran a lot in your pregnancy. I remember you're like, Jenny's like 6 months pregnant, running half marathons and crazy stuff. But how long did it take you to get your physical fitness back after you gave birth to Evan?
I would say, honestly, probably a solid year, to where I was like, I felt like I was back to where I was before. And obviously up until that point, I felt pretty good. But I remember being like, I think I recorded some videos with you, Reagan, when I was like 3 months postpartum, and I was like, I'm so fit, I'm gonna do some planks. And then I look back at them, I'm like, oh man, I couldn't do those planks very well. So yeah, it takes a long time. Like, it takes a long time to build that back up, for sure.
Crazy. And that is, let's see, you were 24 when you had Evan, or 25?
25. Mm-hmm.
25. Okay. And so, and that's someone as a 25-year-old. So imagine if you took the next 10 years off and you didn't run, and then you try to get back into the game as a 36-year-old, 37-year-old. It would take like 2 years to get back into the shape you are now, right? At least.
Yeah, and I know that Andy was on here talking to you guys a little bit about exercise last week, and she mentioned just like start where you are, because everybody has a starting point, and I think that's a really good point and so important, because it's going to take time no matter what. So just start.
That's it, man. I love that. And this is goes, right back to, if you don't use it, you lose it. And no matter what age you are, the most important thing you can do to prolong aging, and actually to reverse aging, is to exercise. There's the study I reference all the time. There's 128,000 people in this study. They've followed the participants for over 30 years, and they wanted to see what lifestyle and what behaviors led to people living longer lives, a longer lifespan and health spans. And the number one thing is, if you're exercising 300 minutes a week of moderate intensity, or 600 minutes a week of mild intensity, you will live 27 to 31% longer. And I think in large part because you're keeping your joints healthy. And so this is why we believe in you having a muscled up future, so that you can protect your joints. So making sure you're working with our coaches, our advisors here at the clinic, is going to be one of the most important things you can do. And now we have a gym with the clinic, so you've got no excuse. So get in there and get your workout on. So all right, number 3 is the cardiovascular system. That is the third system to age. So it's pretty interesting. And by the way, the muscle is the largest organ in the body. It's approximately 35 to 40% of your total body mass. But it's the cardiovascular system that's got to support that and supply nutrients and blood and oxygen to it. But the cardiovascular system, the biggest thing that happens as we age is we get a thickening in the arterial walls, and then our cardiac function starts to drop. And I was just at an event in Dallas and working with Steve Marler's clinic, Advanced Imaging. So we worked with his radiologist and cardiologist, Dr. Bill Wright. And it was fun being there, but they ran a CAT scan image on everybody. And so, and they did a functional MRI on the brain, but we could see all of the plaque buildup in each of the participants' arteries. And a lot of people were relieved, but there was just as many that were concerned because there was plaque that started to get built up, and it wasn't necessarily in the heart. One of the participants had plaque that was built up in his left renal artery, right where the aorta and the kidney, a big vein, a big artery that feeds the kidney. There's a big old plaque built up there. And so that was causing a loss of kidney function. And that was one of the reasons why I had hypertension. So his kidneys were under stress. But looking at the cardiovascular system is so important because it's one of those things, you know, we have that mantra, thanks to Diane Trout, no death by neglect, and missing some of those big things is, you know, like cardiovascular, it can take us out of the game way earlier than what we want to have happen. And so one of the things I would definitely recommend to everybody is go get your advanced imaging done. It's actually, it's an easy process. I had mine done and it was relief on a lot of levels. Also, I realized just how much abuse I've put on my spine though, and my hips and everything. So it's a bit revealing. Kate, you got to get yours done. I bet you'd be shocked at how many, just how jacked up your back might be.
I'm a little nervous to look at it because I'm sure it would be it's going to be an ugly picture, just with all the damage and trauma I've caused it.
Yeah. I had a couple little small disc herniations that I didn't even realize.
Wow.
So now I'm going to get those fixed. I had a compression fracture in T12, and we treated that with stem cells. We did it twice. I did it twice in a year to make sure I got it solid. It hasn't bothered me in, I don't know, 8 years. And that looked really stable. So it's nice to see what regenerative medicine can do, but I don't have a lot of symptoms in my low back. But now, instead of me waiting for my back to completely freeze up on me and end up with sciatica and really problematic areas, I can go treat it now because it's mild.
Yeah, I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, we had a question come in a few minutes ago when we were talking about the nutrient stuff on the testing for that. Did you see that from Allie? She just sent in.
Oh, yeah. Oh, our
blood
blood test, hair. Yep. Allison, I have not seen any definitive markers. I've not seen any definitive resources on which one are more effective, because then the other thing you have are the metabolites. So actually, you know, part of the thing you want to look at as well is what's coming out of the urine, and that's where metabolomics can be such a reservoir of knowledge, and that's has tended to be the gold standard in most of the literature I've read is urine, but I don't know what's more accurate, blood or hair. It's a great question. Kate, maybe you could do a little Poe.com and see if my cat Poe will give you the answer.
You got it.
Sweet. Jenny, anything on the heart? What would you say could help people prevent some basic things they can do for cardiovascular health?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest things come back to sleep, nutrition, and exercise, which we've talked a lot about exercise, but making sure that you're getting maybe 1 to 2 really good days of cardio per week, along with solid strength training, and making sure that you're not eating processed box packaged foods all the time that have garbage ingredients that are going to clog you up and lead to heart attacks and things like that. And then obviously getting good sleep and making sure that your body's recovering every night. I know that's one that I really have to focus on because it's so easy. I think sleep tends to be one of the first things that go for me because I have a laundry list of things to do all the time. But like, protect your sleep. That's really where you recover every day.
Man. Well, and that's what these the researchers found, in this article, is they found that every system has a clock, but not just like not a chronological versus biological clock, like, when you talk about telomeres and things like that. But they found that the circadian rhythms of each organ system is really critical. And so the sleep is the number one thing for cardiovascular health. Crazy.
That's so cool. I mean, it's
It's,
good and bad, right? We have to put in the work.
yeah, so many people think, I'll sleep when I die, but you'll die really early if you wait.
Well, and I'm sure people like you, Reagan, who you're always thinking of ideas and you wish you could stay up all night working on new things. Hard to go to bed.
Yeah, and I used to do that. I used to push it. But I've learned right when 9 o'clock hits, Cade's been around me, no matter how much fun we're having, I'm hitting the hay. I'm not going to stay up past that. I'll hit my second wind around 11 and then it's game over. So
Yeah,
And then you feel terrible the next morning.
yeah.
Reagan's definitely pretty disciplined when it comes to the sleep piece. I like to refer to him as a diva.
You say alpha? I missed that.
Hey, learn some stuff on the kind of the gold standard of testing, which this makes a lot of sense, but for nutrient testing, specifically, blood can be really good at acute levels and more like what's circulating currently. Hair is going to be more longer term picture. It's going to take, it's going to look at it from over several months. Not very reliable for acute deficiencies, but for long term, it can be good. Vitamin D is definitely blood, and then urine can be really helpful, other than there is some factors with hydration and timing of last meal on those.
Very cool. There you go. Thanks. And then that's a great question, Allison. So, and was that Poe.com or what did you use there?
That was Poe.
Thanks, Poe. My kitty. Beautiful. So the fourth thing that says, what's that? Yeah, he is back to life. That's what my kids were saying last night. This is Poe, because I was showing them how to use AI, and we wrote, we were writing some rap lyrics and having fun, and they're like, this is Poe. They're so excited. But so let's go to number 4. So number 1 was the skin, hair, nails. Number 2 is the musculoskeletal system. Number 3, cardiovascular, and number 4, and this is 7 systems we're going to cover. Number 4 is the respiratory system. And so one of the things we've been bringing in is bioregulators. And so there's a bioregulator called Cardio Plus that's really good for the heart. We use sarcotropin ipamorelin, really good for the heart, but one for the respiratory system. And actually, this is their longevity stack. So it's got the vessels bioregulator peptide in it. It's got pinelion, and then the lung peptides. But Amy, Dr. Steinley in our office, she was loving the bioregulators, and Dr. Covinson's team found that people who use these longevity bioregulators had a 30% improvement in overall lifespan. So, and it's a big study. It's over 20,000 people that they followed for a couple of decades. So there's some things to be said about that. But one of the big caveats is if you don't have good lung capacity, then people tend to die earlier. And you could imagine if you don't have good lung capacity, then you get an infection, and that's where a disease like COVID or pneumonia, that's where it takes people out who were, from the outset, they looked healthy, but from the inset, they weren't. And so the respiratory system is a big one. So a test that you can do is do your Wim Hof breathing. And that's in chapter 1 of Never Stop Healing, if you have that book. And by the way, my new book we have some preliminary copies in the office, and then the official launch date is April 27th. So we're going to ask some favors of everyone. We're trying to get it on the bestseller list so that more people can get their hands on some new insights on peptides. It's called the Peptide Blueprint. So very soon, look for our emails, because that we're going to have a big old party for the book launch, and then we'll have an open house at the clinic. So, but yes, if you guys want to get involved, let us know. But anyway, on the lungs, do the Wim Hof breathing, and the more you can hold your breath and the better the carbon dioxide tolerance that you have, the longer that you'll live, is what the researchers found. So pretty interesting. Jenny, any thoughts on improving the lungs and the respiratory system?
I feel like you covered a lot of it, but again, like I would say, making sure that you're breathing, like you're doing the Wim Hof meditation breathing, exercise. There's a correct way to breathe when you're exercising, believe it or not. I learned that recently in the last couple of years. So making sure that you're breathing in and pushing your stomach out, and then engaging your core. And I've also heard that like singing and laughing is really good for your lungs. So, and it's also a sign of like pure joy and happiness. So making sure that you're laughing and singing in the car and things like that.
Well, and that's actually really good for vagal tone.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah. And the better the vagal tone is, the more that your respiration and inspiration all is going to be balanced. So love that. Awesome. Cade, any comments on the lungs?
No, I think Jenny nailed it. I would just comment on Wim Hof. If you haven't done some Wim Hof breathing, gotta check it out. It is like euphoric. I love doing some good Wim Hof.
Oh, and I would add one, making sure that your air quality in your house and the spaces you're regularly in is good, because
That's a great one.
so many pollutants and chemicals in our air.
Man, and when the inversions happen, it's pretty dangerous. It didn't stop snowing all winter long, so we didn't have to contend with. I remember in December, we had a pretty good, no, it was that first week in February, and we were hosting the event with Mike Koenigs and Christina Wise. We had a gnarly inversion, but other than that, it's been a pretty inversion-free winter and a heavy snow.
Yes. I'll take snow over the inversion though.
Absolutely. Yeah. Even though, even 800 inches of snow, which is where Snowbird is above 800 inches. Crazy. So the fifth system that goes is the nervous system. And that's our brain. And so it's pretty scary, because this is where you'll see changes in cognitive function. You'll see, neurologically, things just don't work as well. And this is where our Fitness 50 at age 100 tool is so powerful, because it shows balance, it shows strength, it shows coordination. And 75% of our brains are made up of neurons that connect to our vision and that connect to movement. And so it's crazy. 3/4 of our brain power is going to move your body and to help you see things. So those are two things. And this is where in our longevity retreats, on our last one, everybody did the eye drops. And so those are so good for your brain. And Kate, and when I was in Plano, Kate and Jenny, we had every single participant did the eye drops. It was phenomenal.
That's awesome.
That's cool.
And you didn't have anyone like breaking down and sobbing? Like obviously everyone was crying.
Lindsay
Everybody
did.
cried.
Lindsay was having an episode of
Oh, really?
yeah, she was like, I love these, but I hate them.
Yeah, it's
But you
funny
got a nice
because
little
it's like
steam.
it's so refreshing. Allison said no one swore. I know, I was surprised. I was hoping to hear everyone let it rip. But yeah, it was such a cool experience. And our next retreat is April 27th. And so I would love to have everyone on the hack today. You guys are invited to our retreat in Salt Lake. And it's going to be a fun peptide party. We'll have a stem cell party. We're going to have my 3 Gs. We're going to show you how to gag, how to gasp, and how to grip for vagal tone. But everything we do will also help supercharge your brain and your nervous system. Because one of the big predictors of aging, and one thing that causes our brain to age, is not being in groups of people and not interacting with different humans. So one of the most powerful things for our brain is when we're trying to have pattern recognition. And then when we're also reading humans, communication is so much more than just listening to words. It's watching how people move, it's sensing the energy. And so it's one of the best things you can do for your brain, along with the crazy eye drops we give you, the Boca Zen for the mouth, all the different exercises we do. So get to our retreat. If you're interested, just text the office 801-582-2011. All right, so number 6 is the endocrine system. And this is the hormones and glands. And this is where we see menopause, andropause. But I can tell you that people feel incredibly younger and more youthful and vibrant when the hormones start kicking in. And when we get hormones turned around, and we're seeing this younger and younger, like testosterone, for example, if you'd look at the normal ranges or the average ranges in male testosterone right now, if you would have looked at that 30 years ago, the average was almost twice as what the average is now. So that's a big decline. And a lot of it's the chemicals we've been exposed to, our diet, the processed foods, the pollution. And so really cleaning things up, it's phenomenal what it can do. We had one of our patients who naturally, he's 67. And when he started working with us, his testosterone was 483. And we just reran his labs and we didn't do any testosterone hormones. We got it optimized with peptides and detox and cleansing, amongst other things. And his testosterone is now 863. So pretty exciting. So hormones are a really big part of the system. That's number 6 that gets impacted by age. And then finally, number 7 is the immune system. And this is called immunosenescence. And in the 9 hallmarks of aging, you'll see that our white blood cells, they lose selectivity. And the problem with our white blood cells is if we're not able to find infections and eradicate those in time, then they have too long of time that they can populate. So not only do you want to get your immune cells healthy, that's where we use thymosin alpha-1, thymosin beta-4, cordyceps, astragalus, ashwagandha. These are all really great ways of keeping your immune system healthy so that you don't have infections that are common with aging. So those are the 7. That's the kind of the sequence of those, the aging in our bodies based on the research that was done by this group. And so, Cade, Jenny, any thoughts on this? By the way, this was published in 22, so just last year.
Nice. Yeah, it's interesting how our bodies break down, and I think it's just the biggest takeaway for me is got to be nourishing and just continually working on each of those systems so that I can maintain and improve my health over time. That's the biggest takeaway, is just always looking at different ways to elevate and accelerate health.
Yeah, and I would just add to that, like every system we talked about and the different forms of degeneration in those systems, they're all mostly preventable up until, certain age or whatever. And then from that point on, that's why we have the tools that we have at East West Health to help, when exercise and sleep and nourishing foods and the basic primary answers just aren't enough. That's why we have the tools that we have, or maybe that they're not enough, but you're looking to optimize it further. But like there's a lot of work that you have to put into it, and then we can add to that on top of that.
So true,
Yeah.
man. Well, and getting selective. So, pretty soon you'll start seeing where we'll be able to test each one of these systems. But I appreciate you guys being part of the community. I believe when health improves, everything improves. And so just looking at your body more in a more targeted fashion can just help you understand where the interferences are, where those things are that you don't want to bring with you into the future, and get rid of those as quickly as possible. And then you'll have unreasonable health for an unreasonable lifespan and health span. So thanks everybody. And then tomorrow, don't forget, tomorrow we'll be on and we'll take a little deeper dive in some of the testing that gets us there, like metabolomics, genomics, even some of the skin imaging that you can do. So join us for a continuation of tonight's conversation.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Reagan. Amazing content as usual. For everyone listening here live, I posted the retreat invitation into the chat box. Download that, take a look at it, reach out to us if you're interested in the retreat. If you're listening to the recording or the podcast, just reach out to us. acueastwest.com/retreats would get you to the info. Right now it's today it's not updated. It should be updated by the time this recording is published. So get there, and yeah, thanks everybody. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.